I've outlived every single doctor I graduated with. I've outlived my patients from the 1970s. I've outlived colleagues who were younger, stronger, healthier than me. And I'm going to tell you something about all of them. They didn't have to go when they did. Not from diseases they couldn't prevent. Not from genetics they couldn't control. From habits. From choices they made every single day without realizing those choices were killing them. I started tracking these patterns in my mid-70s. Started seeing the same 5 behaviors in patient after patient, year after year. I warned them. I begged some of them. Most didn't listen. They thought I was being extreme. They thought they had time. Now, most of them are gone. I am 101 years old. I'm not telling you this to impress you or to make you feel sorry for me. I'm telling you this because I need you to understand something. I have watched more people die than almost anyone you will ever meet. And I know exactly what separates the ones who made it past 100 from the ones who barely made it past 70. You are probably doing at least 3 of these things right now. Today. This very hour. And you have absolutely no idea how many years they're stealing from you. The first thing killing people after 60 is something so obvious, so simple, that when I tell you what it is, you're going to think I'm wasting your time. But I watched it destroy more patients than almost anything else I ever diagnosed. Dehydration. And before you roll your eyes and click away, let me tell you what actually happens inside your body when you don't drink enough water. In the 1970s, I started reading research out of Japan on cellular dehydration. What they found terrified me. After age 50, your thirst mechanism begins to fail. The signals that tell you you're thirsty, they start disappearing. Your body is desperate for water. Your cells are literally shrinking, and you feel nothing. Nothing. So what do you feel instead? Hunger. That gnawing sensation in your stomach that sends you to the kitchen for a snack? 9 times out of 10, after 60, that's not hunger. That's dehydration. Your body is screaming for water, but the signal gets scrambled, and you eat instead. You eat when you should be drinking, and your cells keep shrinking, and the dehydration gets worse. I had a patient, a 68-year-old retired accountant, sharp as a tack his whole life. His daughter brought him to me because he was forgetting things. Getting confused, wandering around his house at night not knowing where he was. She was terrified it was dementia. I ran the tests. His cognitive function was fine. You know what was wrong with him? Severe chronic dehydration. His brain was literally shrinking from lack of water. I put him on a strict water protocol, half his body weight in ounces every single day. Strategic timing, morning, midday, evening. No chugging it all at once. Within 3 weeks, his dementia was gone. Completely gone. His daughter cried in my office. She thought she was losing her father. She was, but not to Alzheimer's, to dehydration. I started drinking 60 ounces of water every day in 1979. I still do it. Every single day. I keep a glass by my desk. I drink it slowly throughout the day. I don't wait until I'm thirsty, because I know that signal is broken. That patient, the accountant, he stopped the protocol after 6 months. Said it was inconvenient. Said he didn't like running to the bathroom. He died 4 years later. Kidney failure. Stroke. Complications from dehydration-induced organ damage. He didn't have to die. He chose to. The second thing that kills people is something they don't even consider dangerous. something they've been told their entire lives is fine in moderation, something they reward themselves with, celebrate with, use to show love. Sugar. And I'm not talking about the sugar in an apple or a sweet potato. I'm talking about the added sugar in your coffee, your yogurt, your so-called healthy granola, your afternoon cookie, your evening glass of wine that has more sugar than you think. I'm talking about the just a little won't hurt mentality that has killed more of my patience than I can count. Here's what happens inside your body when you eat sugar after 60. Your cells become resistant to insulin. The sugar in your bloodstream can't get into your cells, so it stays in your blood, wreaking havoc. It binds to proteins in a process called glycation, creating what we call advanced glycation end products. These molecules damage everything they touch. Your blood vessels, your kidneys, your eyes, your nerves, your brain, and the lie that destroyed a generation of my patients? Everything in moderation. That's fine when you're 30. When you're 65, there is no safe amount of added sugar. Your metabolism has changed. Your insulin sensitivity has plummeted. What was moderation at 40 is poison at 70. I watched this play out over decades. A patient would come in at 55, perfectly healthy except for a little extra weight, a slight elevation in blood sugar. Just watch your diet, I'd tell them. Cut out the sugar. They'd nod. They'd try for a week. Then it was back to the occasional dessert. The birthday cake. The holiday cookies. Just a little. Just in moderation. 20 years later, I'm looking at diabetic complications. Neuropathy, retinopathy, kidney disease. I had a patient, a retired elementary school teacher, sweetest woman you'd ever meet. Loved to bake. Loved her treats. She'd have one small cookie every afternoon with her tea. Just one. What's the harm? By 76, she was blind in one eye and had 3 toes amputated. By 78, she was on dialysis. She died at 80, having spent the last 5 years of her life in progressive agony. 1 cookie a day, for 20 years. That's all it took. I eliminated all added sugar from my diet at 65. Not reduced it. Eliminated it. Within 3 months, my inflammatory markers dropped by half. My energy increased. My mental clarity sharpened. I'm 101 now, and I haven't had a bite of added sugar in 36 years. That teacher? She told me 2 years before she died that if she'd known, she would have given up the cookies. But by then, it was too late. The damage was done. The third thing that's killing you is happening right now, as you watch this. You're doing it without thinking about it. You've been doing it wrong for so long that your body has forgotten any other way. You're breathing, but you're not really breathing. You're taking these shallow little sips of air into the top third of your lungs. Your shoulders rise, your chest expands slightly, and you think that's a breath. It's not. It's slow suffocation. Most people after 60 are using maybe 30% of their lung capacity. Maybe. They breathe from their chest instead of their diaphragm, and what that creates is chronic low-grade hypoxia. You're starving every cell in your body of oxygen. Your brain, your heart, your organs, they're all gasping for air while you sit there thinking everything is fine. And here's what makes it worse. Shallow breathing keeps your stress response locked in the on position. When you breathe from your chest, you're sending a signal to your nervous system that you're in danger. Your cortisol stays elevated. Your body stays in fight or flight mode. You're aging faster, inflaming faster, dying faster, all because you forgot how to breathe properly. How did this happen? sitting. Chronic stress. Decades of bad posture hunched over desks and steering wheels and phones. Your diaphragm, the muscle that should be driving your breath, has atrophied from disuse. You've trained yourself to breathe like someone who's panicking, and now your body thinks you're always panicking. I started noticing this in my patients in the 1980s. I'd watch them breathe during appointments. Rapid, shallow, chest-driven. I'd ask them to take a deep breath, and they'd lift their shoulders and puff out their chest. That's not deep breathing. That's the opposite of deep breathing. I had patients with anxiety, with insomnia, with high blood pressure, with chronic pain. I'd teach them diaphragmatic breathing. 5 minutes, 3 times a day. Breathe deep into the belly. Let the diaphragm drop. Fill the lungs from bottom to top. Most of them wouldn't do it. Too simple. Too boring. They wanted pills. The ones who did it. Their blood pressure dropped. Their anxiety decreased. They slept better. Their pain lessened. I practice 5 minutes of deep breathing every single morning. I've done it since 1982. Non-negotiable. I sit, I place one hand on my chest and one on my belly, and I breathe until only my belly moves. 5 minutes. That's it. You want to know why I'm still sharp at 101? Oxygen. My brain has been getting the oxygen it needs for 40 years, while everyone else's has been slowly suffocating. You're breathing right now, but you're not getting enough air, and it's killing you. The fourth thing that kills people after 60 is something most of them don't even realize they're losing until it's gone. Muscle. At age 50, if you're not actively building muscle, you start losing it. Fast. 3 to 8% per decade. It's called sarcopenia, and it's not just about looking frail. When you lose muscle, your entire metabolism collapses. Your ability to process glucose plummets. Your bones weaken. Your balance deteriorates. And the risk of a fall that will end your independence and very likely end your life, skyrockets. And here's the lie that killed so many of my patients. Walking is enough. They'd tell me they walked every day. 30 minutes, an hour, sometimes more. They thought they were doing everything right. Walking is good. Walking is necessary. But walking does not build muscle. Walking does not prevent sarcopenia. Walking will not save you. You need resistance. You need to load your muscles, stress them, force them to adapt, and grow stronger. After 50, this isn't optional. It's survival. I watched the cascade happen over and over. A patient stops lifting, stops doing any kind of resistance training. Maybe they never started. They walk, they stay active, they think they're fine. Then the muscle starts disappearing, slowly at first, then faster. Their metabolism slows. They gain weight even though they're eating less. Their strength declines. Their balance gets worse. Then comes the fall. I had a patient, a 74-year-old man, active his whole life, walked every single day, gardened, played with his grandchildren, never touched a weight in his life. He slipped on ice in his driveway, broke his hip. We got him into surgery, got him into rehab, but he didn't have the muscle mass to recover. He didn't have the strength to do the physical therapy. 6 months later, he was in a nursing home. 8 months later, he was dead. The fall didn't kill him. The muscle loss killed him. The fall was just the moment it became obvious. I started doing resistance training in my 60s. I still do body weight exercises twice a week. At 101, squats, push-ups against the wall, resistance bands. I'm not trying to build a bodybuilder's physique. I'm trying to stay out of a wheelchair. I'm trying to stay independent. I'm trying to stay alive. Your muscles are your longevity insurance. After 50, every year you don't build them is a year you're moving closer to that fall, that break, that nursing home, that grave. Walking is not enough. It never was. And if you're relying on it to keep you strong, you're already losing. The fifth thing that kills people is something no doctor will ever put on a death certificate. Something that doesn't show up on blood tests until the damage is already catastrophic. Something most people refuse to even acknowledge is hurting them. Toxic relationships. I know how this sounds. Soft, psychological, not real medicine. But I'm telling you, after 50 years of clinical practice, toxic relationships kill just as surely as cancer, just as reliably as heart disease. They just do it slower, quieter, from the inside out. Here's what happens physiologically when you're in a toxic relationship. Constant conflict, manipulation, criticism, contempt. These things trigger a chronic stress response in your body. Your cortisol levels stay elevated day after day, month after month, year after year. And chronic cortisol elevation destroys you. It shortens your telomeres, the protective caps on your chromosomes that determine how fast you age. It elevates your inflammation markers. It suppresses your immune system. It damages your cardiovascular system. It shrinks your hippocampus, the part of your brain responsible for memory. I tracked this in my patients for decades. The ones in toxic marriages, the ones with manipulative adult children who drained them emotionally, the ones trapped in friendships that were really just slow poison. They aged faster, visibly, measurably faster. A 65-year-old in a healthy relationship looked and functioned like a 65-year-old. A 65-year-old in a toxic relationship looked and functioned like a 75-year-old. 10 years. That's what it cost them. And the trap, the thing that kept them there, was always the same justifications. But their family. We've been together 40 years, for better or worse. They need me. It's not that bad. It is that bad. And your body knows it even if you won't admit it. I had patients who developed autoimmune conditions, who had strokes, who got cancer. And when I looked at their lives, really looked, there was always a toxic relationship at the center. The spouse who belittled them daily, the adult child who manipulated and demanded and never gave back, the friend who took and took and took until there was nothing left. And here's the hard truth nobody wants to hear. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for your body is leave. Walk away. Cut the tie. Choose yourself over the relationship that's killing you. I've seen patients transform after finally ending a toxic relationship. Inflammation markers drop. Blood pressure normalizes. They sleep better. They look younger. They get their lives back. Your body is keeping score of every insult, every fight, every moment of stress. And after 60, you don't have the reserves to survive it anymore. That relationship you're tolerating? It's stealing years from your life. And unlike the other 4 habits, this one won't just kill you. It'll make sure you suffer the whole way down. I want to tell you about my best friend. We met the first day of medical school in 1948. We were roommates for 4 years. We studied together. We started our practices in the same city. We stood up at each other's weddings. For 50 years, he was the closest thing I had to a brother. And I watched him kill himself. The irony still haunts me. We had the same education. We read the same research. We saw the same patients, the same patterns, the same preventable deaths. We both knew what was killing people. But he made different choices. He refused to hydrate properly, said drinking that much water was inconvenient, that he didn't have time, that he didn't like interrupting his day to use the bathroom. He loved sweets, had dessert every single night, sometimes twice a day. Life's too short not to enjoy it, he'd say. He breathed shallow, spent his whole career hunched over a desk, stressed, anxious, never took 5 minutes to breathe properly, never touched weights, never did any resistance training. I'm active enough, he'd insist, and he stayed in a marriage that was slowly destroying him. His wife criticized everything he did, belittled him in front of friends, made every day a battle. But he wouldn't leave. We've been together too long, he told me. What would people think? I begged him for 15 years. Every time I saw him, I'd bring it up. The water, the sugar, the breathing, the strength training, the marriage. I'd show him the research. I'd tell him about patients I'd lost to these exact habits. He'd listen, he'd nod, and then he'd wave me off. You're being extreme, he'd say. You're obsessed. Not everyone can live like a monk. He died at 72, complications from type 2 diabetes. His kidneys were failing from years of dehydration and sugar damage. He'd lost so much muscle mass that he couldn't recover from a simple infection. The stress from his marriage had destroyed his immune system. I went to see him 2 days before he died. He was in the hospital bed, barely conscious, tubes everywhere. He opened his eyes, looked at me, and asked me a question I'll never forget. "Why are you still standing?" he whispered. "Why am I the one here?" I held his hand. I looked at my best friend, the man I'd known for half a century, and I told him the truth. "Because I listened," I said. "Because I did what you wouldn't do." He closed his eyes. He died 36 hours later. I'm 101 years old. He's been gone 29 years. And I would trade every single extra year, every extra breath, every extra morning I wake up, if I could have made him understand. If I could have convinced him that the life he was living was killing him, that his choices mattered, that it wasn't extreme, it was survival. I couldn't save him. But maybe I can save you. I'm standing here in this office at 101 years old, and I'm surrounded by ghosts. Every diploma on that wall, every certificate, every book on those shelves represents someone I knew, someone I worked with, someone I loved, and they're all gone. My medical school class? Dead. My colleagues from my first practice? Dead. My best friend? Dead 29 years. My wife? Gone 8 years now. Everyone who started this journey with me has reached the end of theirs, and I'm still here. You want to know what I do every day? I walk 5 miles. Some days it takes me 2 hours, but I do it. I do resistance training twice a week. Body weight exercises, resistance bands, nothing fancy, but I do it. I practice deep breathing every single morning for 5 minutes. I drink my 60 ounces of water. I don't touch sugar. And I've surrounded myself only with people who add to my life, not drain it. I'm not special. I'm not genetically gifted. My parents both died in their 70s. I'm not lucky. I made choices. And I kept making those choices even when it was hard, even when it was inconvenient, even when everyone around me told me I was extreme. You know what's funny? I didn't fix my breathing until I was 78 years old. 78. I'd spent decades telling patients to do it, and I wasn't doing it myself. It took a health scare, a moment of clarity, to finally make me practice what I preached. And within months, I felt better than I had in years. It's never too late. Not until you're dead. But here's the truth. Nobody tells you about being right. Being right means being alone. I was right about the water, right about the sugar, right about the breathing, the strength training, the toxic relationships. And it cost me everyone. Not because they died hating me, but because they died. Period. And I didn't. I stand in this office, and I look at the empty chair where my friend used to sit, and I wonder if being right was worth the loneliness. But then I think about the alternative. I think about dying at 72 like he did, suffering for years like he did, watching my body betray me because I chose comfort over discipline. And I know I'd make the same choices all over again. So here's what I'm telling you. You're doing at least 3 of these 5 things right now. You're dehydrated, you're eating sugar, you're breathing wrong, you're losing muscle, you're tolerating relationships that are poisoning you. Pick one. Pick the one that scares you most, the one you least want to change, because that's the one that's killing you the fastest. Fix that one, and then fix the next one, and then the next. You don't have to fix everything today, but you have to start today. Because every day you wait is another day you're choosing to die early. And I've buried enough people who made that choice. Don't make me bury you too.